You know, with me experiencing being a transformation coach, I've discovered that people really want to be better. And a lot of times people are not shown the way, but they're thrown into the way.
Don't push me away, don't throw me away. I've got some things I need to say.
If you are a leader of any sorts, we have to meet people right there, right where they are. That's the only way we'll be able to really push for effective change. We really want to be better, and we got to help each other get there, y'all, because the world needs to see it.
What's up, family? Welcome to another episode of Bridging Humans. It's the place where the people get to hear you and the world get to see it. Y'all are back for another episode. Thank y'all so much for following along, going along. As y'all can see, I got another friend with me today. I got Pastor Courtney Franklin. He's here with me, man. I'm so excited to have you, man.
Man, I'm honored to be here.
Yes. I'm so excited. Y'all, this has been an intriguing conversation so far. I've gotten so many comments, so many just hits on this topic alone. But I think it's a topic that's destined to be talked about in the ways that we are talking about it in this season. So thank y'all so much for watching. If you have not already, subscribe and like the podcast, Ray Bridging Humans. And you can go to now my website, RaymondBrian.com.
My website?
Yeah. you know. I'm trying to come up in this thing. You can go to my website, RaymondBrian.com, to just keep up with our latest updates. And I'm trying to create a funnel of people just so you can keep up with what I'm doing, where I'm going, and all the happiness that's going on in my world. But y'all, this is post-election. Man, Pastor Franklin, this is post-election, man.
Read my script envelope.
Man, look, hey, it's been a week. It's been a week of reckoning, if you will.
Sure.
I think for me, just watching it and just kind of keeping up with it, I guess one of the biggest pieces, and I think I know you've made some content on it as well, but it's a thing, and just making sure we process what we feel, y'all. You know what I'm saying? I know we're mad, we're upset, but just processing it. You know, don't try to just run through, but just process what it is, man. And I don't know what were you doing Tuesday night, man? When did you get that?
I had a myriad of emotions Tuesday night, man. I am probably, I'm unconventional as a person and as a faith leader, in that I'm not Democrat nor Republican.
Yeah.
However, voting my conscience in this election was not Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And I struggled. I struggled. I had to have a hard conversation with my pastor on Wednesday, because Tuesday I struggled, man. I didn't have the diplomacy, I didn't have decorum, I didn't have anything that was polished or collected to say.
Yeah.
I just couldn't believe that a felon and a vile, divisive human being was being elected president.
I know. And Pastor, dude, I got other barbers in my barbershop, and so one of them in particular, he cussed a lot of ex-felons here, man. So I have to hear that on a weekly basis, like, damn, man, I can't go get no job. Like, you know what I'm saying? And so I hear that weekly at the barbershop. It's like, man, and I feel so bad, because when they see him, it's like, man, what the hell? It kind of adds to the apathy already in our community that people don't care about us, man.
But it kind of contributes also to the deeper conversation you and I are going to have today, because that's hypocrisy.
Yes.
And unfortunately, it's hypocrisy on both sides of the coin.
Yes.
There are people that complained about Trump being president that won't hire a felon.
Yes.
But there are people that voted for him that won't hire a felon, but they elected one into office. That's hypocrisy.
Yes.
And then the government is hypocritical, because they won't let felons work,
right?
But they'll accept one into the presidency. So,
man,
we got to be fair about the hypocrisy around the board. Unfortunately, it exists on both sides of the coin.
It definitely exists on both sides, man. And I feel so for women, man. Like I guess with your wife, man. Like how did that conversation even go with just talking to her about this loss and just black women, and to see all the black women that stood behind her, and like everybody else, like, yeah.
Well, it started with my mom in my mind.
Okay.
I was raised by a single mother who was an educator and did all she could to sacrifice. I have a sister. I have a wife. I have 2 daughters. And for me, it was just another indictment on the fabric of America.
Yes.
That a qualified woman is rejected because of an unqualified man. And without even getting into hue, for me, it wasn't really black because Hillary Clinton was white.
Right.
Janet Reno was white.
Yes.
And they rejected both of them as well. So it's just the female is just not celebrated in this country to the degree that they should be, and that is to an equal degree. And most times, even in the faith space, females are more educated, more qualified, more anointed, better preachers than us. And I think that men try to marginalize them because of their own inward insecurity.
Yes. And to your point, man, I know that this election cycle for me, I've learned so much more on our privilege as men. You know what I'm saying? I think that we in those spaces we would never get half the questions, half the scrutiny that a woman would get. So for you women who's watching and who's kind of who's feeling some kind of way, like we see y'all, like we truly see y'all, and I truly understand even deeper how this cycle, like the questions that she got and the things, man, we would never get that.
We would never get that, and the unspoken expectation for her to answer a certain way.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
We would have never gotten that. It's one thing to be asked questions, but then it's another thing for your answer to be scrutinized.
Yes.
So
I didn't think about that.
Yeah. So she just, but she's a polished woman. Celebrate the classic campaign that she ran, and hopefully she'll bounce back and we'll see some great things from her.
Absolutely, man. So yeah, man. So we gonna get off into this whole conversation. I kind of got a nigga rig though.
No, you doing good, man. All right, there we go.
Cool. Yeah, we're gonna get off into this conversation now, man. When faith hurts, in this episode, we're gonna talk about trusting and creating community in today's church. Y'all, this is a hot button conversation.
What a hot button conversation.
Yeah. and I wanted to bring somebody on the pod, y'all, who I know is not afraid, to his point that he just made earlier, who's unconventional, who's willing to get down in the gritty about the conversation. If you follow Pastor Franklin, if you follow him, if you know him, you know how passionate he is about making sure that we protect the spaces. Sure. And he's passionate about it. And even with me personally, in my life, whether y'all know it or not, this is somebody who, he called me to the carpet, and this is somebody who he has really put things in my face, like to make sure, Raymond, okay, where are you? And he's asked me questions, and he's said, and he has talked with me about my grievances I had. So I want to publicly tell you thank you, man, because just by conversation that we've had, even back when we was in the pandemic, man, this man would speak into me, and he would call me and check on me, man. So Courtney, I am forever indebted to just your willingness to reach out as a man of God. So I want to tell you thank you. But this conversation, y'all, when faith hurts, it's heavy, and when we see it a lot, Pastor, it's always around some kind of big topic that we see that's happening in the global church, and then you have people on one side, man, that's why I don't go to that mess no more. That's why I don't do that. Then you have other people like, y'all just don't want to. So I feel like conversations always get lost in there. Things get lost in there, and we never really get to a place of understanding. So that's the reason for this podcast. But y'all, you know who he is, but if you don't know who he is, let me just tell y'all, he's a father, he's a husband, he's a father, he's a pastor, he's a friend, he's a musician, y'all. He sings. Y'all, he is a lot of things to a lot of us, and I thank you for just being who you are, and following your call, following your passion. And for the people who don't know you, and even for the people that know you, one thing I like to do on the podcast, Pastor Franklin, can I call you?
In it, comment.
I will respect.
My wife called me baby. Call me whatever you want.
And yeah, I know him as Courtney, but I respect his place. So he's Pastor Franklin and Courtney. So he said I can call him whatever I want to call him. So just the first question, I always like to humanize my guests, So and I say outside of any titles, outside of any accomplishments that you have, who are you? Who are you as a person, man?
Man, I'm born and raised on Tillman Street in Binghamton. And I like to tell people I was raised in Binghamton and I didn't stay in the house. Mm-hmm. So I learned to play basketball at Leicester Community Center. We walked to the corner store, we fought, we did all the stuff. So I'm still that person at my core. I don't meet a stranger. I'm extroverted. Mm-hmm. I talk to people in the airport. I talk to people at Kroger. If I leave here today and go outside your building and somebody wants to talk, we'll talk. I still play basketball twice a week. Wow. And love to spend time with my family, my children, my wife. We was up last night to 3:00, check-in, eating. That's just who the accomplishments. I mirror Paul in this regard that that stuff doesn't matter to me. I just like to be a nice person, and because my personality is so blunt, and it can't even be brash depending on the subject. People mischaracterize who I am, and they usually do that from a distance because people who know me up close know, that's not really him, but I like to just be regular. And you to your point, you are very direct. He's direct. He's gonna be honest with you. And I personally, I feel more comfortable in spaces with people like you than people just gonna kind of beat around the bush. Yeah, I don't like putting sugar on it because see, again, I was raised in Binghamton and we didn't have a father in the home. So my grandmother was our protection. Mm-hmm. And she used to say, look, if you don't know how to fight, they're gonna take your candy before you get to that store. Mm-hmm. We were in kindergarten. Like, it's no sugar on it. So I grew up with that. I just adapted that type of a personality trait.
Yes. And you've been known around Memphis for being a singer, and then for real quick before we get into the conversation, because he's a pastor now, he pastors a church here in Memphis. What was their transition like for you to really accept the call of the pastoral call to know, okay, I need to go ahead and found the church?
First of all, fun fact that you may not even know, but I'm sure some people in our listening audience may not know. I was the first male solo artist in Memphis to put out a CD.
Really? I did not know
in
that.
the history of Memphis.
I did not know that.
A gospel CD.
Yeah, I did not know that.
Nobody was before me. So I had kind of a torch on me as a singer that kind of forced me to be the OG in that regard. Mm-hmm. Because Shay Norman's record came maybe a year after mine. Every McBee came a year after that. And so I just been building this music pedigree. Yeah. And so when the Lord told me to pastor church, I'm like, you ain't talking to me. Because I'm straight. I don't have any desire to do church politics, to deal with people that I don't have to. And so I fought it for a while. Mm-hmm. I mean, honestly, I fought it for a while. And I was dean of students at my school. I did 17 years in education.
I did not know that.
I was dean of students at the school, and I was the minister of music at a church in Memphis. Mm-hmm. And the Holy Spirit told me, quit the jobs, start the church.
Wow.
Not talking to me.
Wow. Block it out. Oh, yeah.
And so, long story less long, it was a hard transition because I knew that we live in the Bible Belt. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, there's a stigma in Memphis that if you're a singer, we don't honor you as a preacher. Man. If you're a preacher, we don't really acknowledge you as a singer. Yeah. And so it's been a hard road. My pastor told me it'll take about 5 years before they start respecting you as a preacher and a pastor. And sure enough, we're on the other side of that transition now. But yeah, it was rough. Wow. It was rough.
So tell us a little bit about your church, man.
My church. Oh, no problem. My church is the Power Spot Church. It's in the north side of town in Raleigh. my wife and I started our church. We're going into our 9th year,
Man.
and no money, no denominational backing, no network, no collaborative. Just heard God say it's time now, and we launched out, man. And now we've purchased 2 properties within our 9 years. We have our church building, which houses a daycare center.
Wow.
And next door to our church, we own a salon with 6 suites.
Oh, wow.
And
wow.
yeah, so God has richly blessed our church. Our church is 65% unchurched, so I specialize in people that have never been to church before. So a lot of our folks don't know how to run and shout yet. They don't know how to speak in tongues yet. We're teaching all of that.
Yeah.
But they're good people who have transitioned. I have everything from ex-strippers to ex-dope heads to ex-gang members all in church every Sunday, some of them with their whole family.
Wow.
And so I love our church.
Yes.
You know, you can wear a 3-piece suit or you can wear what I got on right now in the same service and you will not feel out of place. There's no dress code.
Wow.
And there's no class code. I have principals that are members of our church.
Wow.
And then I have people at our church that work for the sanitation department, literally. Wow. So it's everything. I love our church.
Y'all, he like literally before I pressed record, he had like one of his members text him. He had to check the text message. And he just to see him do that in the moment, and she gave him a card, and I was like, wow, bro, like he like just to see his level of care and level of concern, like it's real, it's not fake, it's not just I'm here. And y'all there, and y'all deal with y'all when I see y'all on Sunday or Bible study night or whatnot. So
yeah, man, let me tell you, I still pastor old school. Like if somebody has a crisis in our church, I go to their house at 2 a.m. Like my wife can tell you, I get up, you in the middle of something horrible.
Wow.
I'm not calling you, I'm pulling up.
Wow.
I mean, if you're in Memphis, you only 20 minutes away anyway, the furthest distance, you're 20 minutes away. So I feel like a shepherd should smell like sheep. I feel like pastors should walk people through life and not just make appearances on Sunday to excite them and then send them back into a world that they don't know how to navigate. So if I wanted to be itinerant, I wouldn't be a pastor.
Right.
But because I am a pastor, I marry, I bury, I counsel, I correct, I show up for court.
Wow.
I do all of that stuff, and I love doing it.
Yes, wow, man. So when we get off into this conversation, when faith hurts, what and with your definition? Because I know even as a pastor, you've seen firsthand, when people get disappointed, and you have seen firsthand in yourself with the faith. We've been in this faith thing all our lives, So what is church hurt to you? What is that? Like when you hear, or when we see conversations online, when we see people express their grievances on the book or on the gram or whatever, like what is your definition as a man of church hurt?
Sure. Well, the first thing I want to say coming out the gate is probably going to be unconventional, but it's cool, is I don't like the term church hurt.
Okay.
Because church hurt normally means people hurt. And it normally means person hurt in most cases. Okay. And I don't like the church being grouped into what your experience was with one place or one person. Yes. And it's the same prejudice, prejudging that people do to us as people of color. Wow. Okay. Like, your head is to the back right now, but you're an educated, respectable entrepreneur. You're not going out to rob anybody, but if they grouped all of us together, then yes. Yeah, right. So I don't like church hurt, but I do know that people have been hurt by people in the church. Yes. And I don't want to discount that because that's very real. And normally, in my experience, people have been hurt in church by misrepresentatives of God. Man. If your uncle has sex with you as his niece, all uncles aren't bad. He was a misrepresentative of what a real uncle was. Wow. And that's what people have experienced. And please stop discounting people's experience
Yes.
There are people who have been devastated by people who should have been representing God and had an ulterior motive.
Wow.
And that's real. So when I hear it, my antennas really go up because I've experienced it. Watch this. And every day when I wake up to pray, I ask God to make sure I'm not a contribution to it.
Wow. Man.
I'm
you got me already. You got me already, man.
Yeah.
And I hear you, and that's so important because lived experience is where we are, people. It's where we are in 2024. You have to honor and recognize everybody's lived experience. So I think that acknowledgement like is a big thing today. And I'm so glad as a faith leader that you're willing to, like I said a few minutes ago, get in the trenches, man. And also even with your answer to people hurt and church hurt, if you will, how can we differentiate, Pastor, the difference between a flawed community versus just a toxic environment within church culture?
So in every entity you encounter in life, there is going to be flaws. My father-in-law, shout out to Apostle Bishop Kevin Whitaker in Atlanta, Georgia, my wife's dad. He said something that I'll never forget. He said, wherever there is human effort, there will be human error.
Yeah.
So you're not going to run into any entity that involves people, and you won't find some type of error, even if it's unintentional.
Yeah.
So I think everything is flawed, but everything does not have to be toxic.
Yes.
And I think you get into toxicity when there is no balance, when there is no reciprocation of honor.
Wow. Okay.
If I have to be connected to you and you don't have to honor me, but I have to honor you, now it's not balanced.
Wow.
Wow. If I have to respect you and you don't have to respect me, now it's not balanced. Reminds me of the toxicity that we went through for a period in our country out loud with police officers and people of color. You know, honor me. If I tell you to put your hands up, and then you're killing me. You know, you shoot me when I have no gun. You shoot me when I say, you know, and that is a toxic relationship.
Yes.
Unfortunately, in the church, there have been relationships that were toxic.
Wow.
I mean, I see every day. Well, I mean, every week, rather. Vulnerable girls come into my church that have been in relationship trauma, hurt, daddy issues. I see it. Some of them discuss it with me. But my job is not to turn that into somebody that I get into bed with. That's toxic.
Yes.
Because now I flawed their perception of who I am to function as in their life. I can't be your pastor and your lover unless you lay the cake.
Yeah, right.
So then you sleep with a woman, you get her emotionally entangled into a person who's supposed to be feeding her spirit. Now there's a war between her spirit and her soul.
Back and forth.
And now when you ignore her or reject her, you've only contributed to the hurt her daddy gave her.
Yes.
You contributed to the hurt her ex gave her.
Yes.
But you were supposed to be a representation of her healing.
Wow.
Now she knows toxicity. She doesn't know healing.
Wow.
And it's the preacher's fault.
Man, and to understand that nuance, Pastor, to understand that nuance is so important. And I know that just if we all just for real take a step back, and it sounds like also what you said that we have to really check our expectation on what we expect from church spaces, church community.
Well, that's perfect. Now I want to piggyback on you there, because I have a saying that for years I've been saying this, that there can only be disappointment where there is expectation.
True. That's true.
Look, you and I, we love each other.
Yes.
But we don't talk every week. We don't talk every 2 weeks.
Right.
But it's not a problem because we don't expect it.
Right.
See, I know you busy, you know I'm busy, we know the bond is there, we good.
Yes.
But if I expected to talk to you every day and your schedule didn't accommodate, then I could be disappointed.
Wow.
Right? So I think on both sides of the coin. I think that people have been hurt by people in church because of their expectation. I think that church leadership have been hurt by people in church because of their expectation. But one of my best friends, Pastor Derek Joyce, said something that changed my mind, changed my life. He said, I want our friendship to always manage expectations.
Wow.
That's powerful.
I love that. I
That's
love
powerful.
that. Yes.
Because another term for it is accountability, but not as deep, because managing expectations is when I lay down for you what I expect from you as a friend and you tell me the same.
Yes.
What I expect from you as a pastor and you tell me what you expect as a member. And then if I can't meet an expectation, that's the management.
Wow.
I say to you, hey man, I know you like somebody to go out to dinner with every 2 weeks. You know, we get our partners together and go eat, but my life ain't set up like that.
Wow.
And if I tell you that, now I can't be disappointed if I call you to go eat and you're unavailable.
But man, that's relationship though, one-on-one. That's truly relationship. And this is probably what I'm getting ready to say. It's probably another conversation for another episode. But how I look at things now, Courtney, I look at it from, I step back off of it. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like the further we get from slavery, Jim Crow, the more we're having to reevaluate how we look at it. Because think about it, back in our great-great-great-grandparents' day, you know, the pastor was the man who knew how to read. He was the man who knew everything. And our job was to go and listen, and whatever master tell him to tell us, they tell us. And so I feel like the more we get away from that, the more autonomy we get on our lives. The more we realize we have autonomy over our lives, the more that a lot of these expectations have to be adjusted, to your point, on both sides of the coin. And now it's so relational. It is so relational. And I shared this just before we press record a little bit, but one of my biggest pieces is discipleship and what that looks like. Now, when I think about Christ and when he discipled, he walked with the disciples. And because of, just for the sake of argument, a lot of people, when they think discipleship, we stand in front of people and like they animals or pets or something, or we drag them along, but Christ walked with. So when you walk with somebody, I see you, you see me, we see each other. And that's what you just described. That's what that sounds like to me.
Yeah. So I think that, and I know people you may get emails on me from this, but I think that our grandmama's religion did more harm than help to us.
I agree.
And I know that's an unconventional statement for a pastor.
But it's real.
But I'm going to give them credence to this now. They had a lot more character than we do now, but they did not have as much understanding. And so they made the pastor this golden calf that was to be worshipped and idolized and could never be corrected or approached or held accountable.
Yes.
And I think that hurt us.
Yes.
Because now people are educated.
Yes.
People do know how to read. They know how to comprehend, and they don't need in today's time what they needed from a pastor in 1964.
Wow.
And if we have been giving our children the same approach to pastoring in 2024 that we did in 1964, we've lost a whole generation because they're not interested in that.
Wow.
I don't need my pastor to read what the newspaper's telling me about voting this weekend.
Right.
I run the election commission.
Right. For real. Right.
So, we have to reevaluate what we're teaching people the role and responsibility is of the under shepherd, because Jesus is the great shepherd.
Yes.
Every pastor is an under shepherd.
Yes.
And we have to teach people what shepherd's care looks like in 2024.
Yes.
Shepherd's care in 2024 is different than 1964 in that some people only hear their shepherd via online.
Mm-hmm. Real talk.
In 1964,
Real
that
talk.
wasn't a possibility.
Real talk.
Right?
Right.
So we have to keep redefining what this leadership thing looks like, because I now have the opportunity to pastor someone that lives in Los Angeles that will never, ever
Absolutely
step foot on the grounds of our church, but they honor me as their pastor. And I have people that honor me as a spiritual leader that have never joined my church, virtually or otherwise, but they trust my voice.
Yes.
They trust my walk with the Lord. They trust how I treat my family. And they say, if I had a pastor, but the closest thing I got to a pastor, that's you, right?
How many times have I told you?
Yeah. So we got to redefine, man. We got to because it's not Reverend coming in a 3-piece suit and a Cadillac.
Right.
That day is over with and done. Right? People they're not checking for that.
Yes.
But they want to see heart, man, because everybody David Koresh was a leader.
Yeah,
Jim Jones was a leader.
So they were leaders.
We're talking about heart now.
Yeah.
And people want to know, do you care about me? If I know you care about me, I'll give you my money. Yeah, the money ain't the problem. But if I don't know that you care about me,
yes,
you could preach tithes and offerings all day. I'm not putting a dime.
Yes.
First of all, we've been educated about tithes. That's a whole nother subject.
Yeah.
Right. A whole other subject.
Yeah.
We don't have to go there, but I'm just saying, people, even those who have been illuminated as to what tithes contextually, it should be, they still will give to a church if they feel like the pastor and the leadership are for people.
Yes.
For causes.
Yes.
For empowerment.
Absolutely.
And not just the top get wealthy and everybody else is trusting God.
And I think that balance is happening, and I think that everybody is not really cognizant to understand that this stuff is changing. Like this, we have turned the page. If you are in institutions and you're in spaces that still look at it as big U's and little them, or big days and little, like we have left that space, and everything about ministry, to me, should be moving toward this space, and should be moving toward understanding that, y'all, people are smart now, like
intelligent.
Yeah, intelligent. Like look at all the access, and Courtney, I tell people all the time, look at all the access. Look at every other entity. And I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna say this now. I'm concerned. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm concerned about, when I think about all the major spaces, two spaces that I'm concerned about, that if they don't really shift, like for real, it's gonna be some more mass exodus away from them. And that's the political space and the religious space. I feel like these two spaces, we have been so used to operating a certain way, and we so used to just telling people, this is how you vote, and not explaining to them why. No, they're not doing no more. We telling people, this is how you're supposed to live, and not telling them why. And not giving people the space to share their grievances, to share their nuance, man. We can't do that no more.
But I think that's dictatorship, what you're describing. And I think that the church has become so dictatorial, man, because we have lost the power that we say we once had as a generation. Right? So here's me, we've discussed this before. I feel like if you really had this Holy Ghost power that a lot of our grandparents and forefathers did have, if you had that power, you could disciple people. You could transform the lives of people without trying to dictate their change, because you couldn't impact their change.
Yes.
So now I have to say to you what you can't wear, because I didn't have the power to influence what you wanted to wear.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
We've lost the power.
Yes.
And we've lost power because we've gotten away from God. Listen, our generation has learned how to have church without God.
Man. Woo!
We've learned how to mimic what he sounds like, mimic what he looks like, mimic what the glory is, mimic what the presence is. Go steal a sermon from somewhere offline and repreach it, and then everything looks like God. And so now we stop seeing transformation and start saying church was good today. What does that mean?
Wow.
Oh, we had a good time.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
What does that mean? Yeah.
Right? If there is no yoke destroying, burden removing power that changes a person, God wasn't there.
Man, he wasn't there.
He wasn't there.
He wasn't there. And just for the sake of conversation, because I know we're in Memphis, and you know, we just had a convention last week.
Sure.
And so just for the sake of conversation, I asked like all of my clients I had some that came in town for the convention, and I had some just already just live here and went, and I asked them like, and just inquiring like, were there any classes? Were there any, you know, and I'm not saying it wasn't any, but they really could not express to me any depth of what it was, and not knocking that space, not knocking that space at all, but I know that y'all, we like, I'm even though I'm not a member of a local congregation, Pastor, I love church, and I'm concerned about it, because it's like y'all like all the other offerings that other like business spaces have, like you gotta offer that today, because like I hear the young people, and I walk with young people all the time, and man, to your point, man, they're not just all this regular pomp and circumstance. They're not doing it. Like even when I served, for example, I served in youth ministry in my last church for a number of years, and what we as adults would feel like moved us, like when the spirit got high in the service, they be sitting back like,
sleep.
Yeah, they sleep. And so it's like, man, what do we do with that, man? So
yeah. So I know that church culture has shifted. I'm not denominationally affiliated, so I don't really know all the inner workings of the conventions or what happens, but I would encourage churches, local and international, to empower people.
Yes.
Like, we know how to have church.
Yes. Yes.
But offer something to empower people.
Yes.
That are a part of your organization, because empowerment is going to breed way better harvest than church.
Yes.
Let me say that again.
Yes.
Empowerment is going to breed much better harvest than church. That old adage says, if I give you a fish, I feed you for a day. I teach you how to fish, I feed you forever. And that's what the empowerment does. It feeds people. Like, I don't even have giving at our church that's not what I call purpose giving. Okay. Like, I don't just say it's time for an offering after I preach. No, that's church. Yeah. After the sermon, we're going to sow a seed. That's church. Yeah. Empowerment is, and I literally say these words, like, you worked for this money, you've hustled for this money, you twerked for it, you sold kush, whatever you did to get your money. I don't want you to bring that money to me in the context of seed unless you're sowing with intent. Wow, I love that. So at our church, if you're sowing after I preach, you're sowing into a specific thing. What are you giving this money for? Wow. Well, I'm sowing into my son getting saved. I'm sowing into my body being healed. I'm sowing into whatever. Now we have a place to put our faith. Wow. And put a demand on that seed rather than make the preacher rich. Wow. Man, I spent 17 years of my life clocking into school every day. I'm talking about getting off the road at 2 a.m. from singing and in my classroom at 7 o'clock. So I don't want to live off I don't need the church's money to feed my family. My family's going to eat if I had no church. Wow, I love that. But those type of empowerment moments, like we just had a women's conference at our church, but there were 6 classes, only one service. Wow. Yeah. Like my wife taught a class on called Wear It Well, where women learn what is appropriate to wear to every social function. Wow. What does after five look like?
Okay.
What does business casual really look like?
Wow.
What does formal wear look like? What undergarments should you have on as a woman at these events?
Mm-hmm.
That was our whole segment.
Wow.
In our conference.
I love that.
And so I believe that empowering people is going to be the key to salvaging any hope for the church to be respected in the community.
Wow. So how can leaders create a culture of transparency and accountability within church today?
Well, so here it is again. I'm unconventional, but I don't know if you've thought about this.
Okay.
The church, especially the black church,
Okay.
is the only space that you do not have to be educated to function.
No. Wow. I haven't thought.
I cannot come into your barbershop
Wow.
and occupy a booth
I haven't thought that.
without proving that I've been educated, watch this, and licensed.
Wow. You ain't lying.
To do it. Because you will be shut down.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
And if somebody from the board that governs that came in, I would be put out and fined, maybe possibly arrested. I don't know all the rules.
Yeah.
But name a place. You can't be a dentist. You can't be a doctor. You can't be a police officer. You can't be anything in the world.
It's that aha moment, bro. Like, wow, bro.
Only in church can you go to the top of the chain with no education.
Wow.
There are pastors in Memphis right now with no high school diploma.
Man. Yeah.
So then if I can implement, if I can function as an authority, if I can have a bullhorn with no education.
Man. That's dangerous. Bro, like I'm just wow.
No formal training.
Wow.
No preacher has to go before a board before they can start a church.
Mm-hmm.
And the government sanctions it. And the government will help fund it. That's dangerous.
Yes.
So then how do you give accountability to people who didn't even have to start off accountable?
Wow.
Like I said,
man,
God,
you hit some points, man.
I said, God called me, and now I got 7 people following me, and now I'm a bishop.
Wow.
And now I'm an apostle, and now I have an adjutant. And now, watch this, I have somebody carrying my bags, and I hadn't even finished high school.
Man, look.
And speaking into the lives of people with a conglomerate of degrees.
Wow.
Like, how am I?
Wow.
I haven't even been to junior college. Right? And I'm speaking into the lives of people that run Fortune 500 companies. And then you're wondering why you haven't attracted people of substance to your church. So all you've attracted are people who are going to repurpose hurt.
Wow. Y'all hear this, man? Yeah. Do y'all hear it, man? And like you just opened up a can of worms for me, because when like that mantle that pastors stand on, right? Like people trust them.
Absolutely.
They trust that.
Absolutely.
And so I can be standing on this mantle. I ain't got a lick of education, no kind of certification, no kind of nothing. And all I got is God told me, and my dogma, my personal opinion, my personal preference, and I can put that on.
Watch this, my personal error. My personal misinformation.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
Now I'm spewing that as God.
Wow.
Because God is an indivisible deity. So, of course, I can blame it on God, and who's going to check me, because there's no courtroom that we can go to disprove me.
Oh, my God.
Which is why accountability is important with people who've walked longer. Look, you're a master barber now.
Mm-hmm.
You think you couldn't tell somebody who just coming out of barber college something about cutting hair?
Man, I can tell them a lot.
You can tell them a whole lot.
Right.
But look at the doctors, physicians.
Mm-hmm.
Those people go to school. Oh, I take my blood sister, my biological sister. Well, two of my sisters.
Mm-hmm.
One of my biological sisters is an attorney.
Mm-hmm.
The other biological sister is a pharmacist.
Mm-hmm.
They did extensive schooling. Watch this. But both of them are accountable to a board.
Both of them. Wow.
Get out of
That's
order
real.
as a lawyer.
That's
My
real.
sister would have to go before a board do something unethical as a pharmacist, she would have to go before a board to ensure that she could still keep her license.
Wow.
Not in church.
Wow.
You make me mad as my accountability, I'll leave your denomination and start something on my own.
Wow. So what I hear you saying is checks and balances, like we
Are out of balance.
They are out of balance.
We don't have it, which is why that's toxic.
Mm-hmm.
Because if nobody can check, my pastor calls it, give me a ticket.
Mm-hmm.
If I do something that he feels like is not above board, he said, all right, son, I got to give you a ticket today.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
You don't have anyone in your life, and let's take this outside of the church. Some of y'all are married to people who nobody can check.
Wow.
Some of y'all are working with people that nobody can hold it. So how do you have a disciplined society when there is no accountability?
Man.
And that's what has so many people disturbed by Trump. Who can check you?
Who can check you?
Your vice president did what was right, and you start saying, kill my kids.
You start saying, kill that man. He wanted him to take that man out.
He wanted to kill. So if nobody can hold you accountable, man, everybody's afraid of you. And the church, unfortunately, has become a place where you want the whores to be accountable. You want the gay people to be accountable.
Mm-hmm.
You want the people that's been incarcerated to be accountable, but don't hold the church accountable. We don't play that. God called us.
Wow.
And
that day is, I'll say again, that day is done.
It's over with.
It's over with. And that's so I feel like now God has been trying to show us for the past few years. Just think about all the major men and women of God that I respect, I honor, like stuff been coming out on them. Man, it's like, dude, like I feel like that's not by happenstance. I feel like God is trying to get us to really see each other in our humanity.
Well, the scripture says that God resists the proud.
Mm-hmm.
I have my personal apology about that. I feel like even outside of the sacred space, Puff Daddy, Bill Cosby,
mm-hmm.
R. Kelly.
Okay.
My personal apology or theology is everybody's got something,
mm-hmm.
right? But God gives us grace and space to change before He gives us judgment and exposure.
Woo. Okay.
And when you feel like you're invincible, then God,
I like where you're going,
has to prove to you,
mm-hmm.
I can get to everybody.
Yes.
Now, you can change before I put the lights on you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll be under mercy.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be under grace because His mercy endures forever.
Mm-hmm.
But if you decide to reject the mercy and the time I've given you to change,
mm-hmm.
then I must execute judgment, because if I didn't, that would make you and God equal.
Woo!
Somebody has to be in charge.
Yeah, somebody got to be
Government
in charge.
is an internal law.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like some of the preachers, I don't know all of the preachers, but some of the preachers have just taken too long to change. And then God said, all right, why are you judging that person over there? Mm-hmm. Let me tell you something. You can wake any member of our church up at 3 a.m. and they can tell you this. I don't allow judgment in the power slide.
Wow.
They can tell you that. Anybody, even a person that's been in our church for 2 weeks,
mm-hmm.
because they've heard it.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because you cheated on your taxes, but I hate my baby mama.
Where we at?
I mean, who's point? Like, what you got going? You smoke Kush,
mm-hmm.
but I eat 10 pounds of sugar a day.
Where we at?
So I don't allow judgment in our church, not because I'm trying to be a conformist or I don't want to deal with people's issues. No, but if we make the plane even,
mm-hmm.
then if you find out,
man, this
that your pastor did something in 1995 that wasn't right, you giving me the same grace I've given you.
And I know this is God, because the way the order of this conversation is just flowing. Courtney, one of the things that I say as well, I think that the line of grace has been off, and people see it's been off. So let me give you an example. So if we're all in a race, right? All of us, we're in a race, right? And if this is the starting line, for the race, because everybody, whoever you are, you're in the race. In church, in grace, this is the line of grace right here. And so what we see is who sits at the front of the line. We're just gonna deal with the black church. It's the only church I've ever been a part of.
Right.
Who sits at the front of the line is the heterosexual black man. That's who sit like whatever you can sell out the money. You can get a couple women pregnant. You can marry a couple of them, divorce them. You can do all the things, but you just cannot be gay. So you sit at the front of the line. You get the most grace. Then I feel like what's next in line is women. Women next in line right there. Women. You can't do as much as he can, but you're next in line. And then who's after them is the children. The children after them. So line of grace up here. The heterosexual man, the woman, the heterosexual woman, the children, and then everybody else is misfits. And so the line of grace is so short for the misfits. And so I feel like, Pastor, one of the biggest issues is that I love what you just said, because that puts everybody at the line of grace. Everybody. And so people see that now. Like, so you can't give John grace, but you don't give Rico grace in the back who got a boyfriend and go to the church. You can't give Miss Sheila grace, but this baby standing back here, you want to chastise him so hard because he even got suspended out of school. Like, what's happening? What's going on?
Yeah, it's people that's putting their own ideologies on other people and calling it God. That breeds people being hurt in church.
Yes.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Unconventional.
Okay.
We talked, so you know how I feel.
Yeah.
I have my position on homosexuality according to the scriptures.
Okay.
And so we've talked about that.
Yes.
But here's what I want to ask the church. In what period in life from Adam to this current day did the church sermons, preaching, slinging oil, what period in history did that stop people from being gay?
Wow.
I'm just trying to see.
Man, you listen.
You don't have any rubric to prove this is how you do.
Yes.
Because the people that are the most dogmatic about it in their church still got gay people in their church. They just had to conceal who they are because they knew what your judgment would be.
Wow.
But you haven't eradicated it then, which means, although I believe the Bible, which means you got to go back to Jesus being the center.
Yes.
And then any conviction that will happen will be because you presented who Jesus is to people. And then they work out their salvation between them and God. In the meantime, you just keep preaching Jesus, which means if you gay at my church, or if you a thief, or if you a liar, all y'all come to church.
We all come to church.
Everybody come to church.
Everybody come on.
Nobody's judging nobody here. Okay? Respect the church. Hear what I'm saying?
I hear you. No, I hear you.
Hear what I'm saying? Don't come into church, at my church, and hug up with your boyfriend and your man. Not because we're demonizing you as something worse than the liar, because I don't want a person who smokes weed to bring their blunt in the church either. There's just a decorum that we should have, and I don't particularly think that heterosexual people need to be hugged up in church. It's church. It's not the movies. It's not a place for you. You have to show public displays of affection. Let's come here and get the word. Keep the attention and the focus on Jesus. And then if the pastor is giving Jesus, he said, if I be lifted up, then I do the drawing.
Yes.
But our problem is we've been trying to force people to be drawn to us.
Yes.
And if they don't draw to us, now we have to weaponize what we could not evangelize. So how dare you sit under my preaching and you still gay?
Wow.
Because you're making it about you.
Wow.
How dare you sit under my preaching and still drinking?
Wow.
Well, you making it about you. But if you're to make Jesus the centerpiece, hear every word I say. If something needed to change in them, he would do it.
Come on, man.
And if nothing needed to change in them, no man can resist the power of God.
I can stop the podcast. no, because you are hitting every nail, and I promise you, Pastor Franklin, man, I wish that there were more that was like you, because I like one of my biggest pieces now that, and I am healing, and don't get me wrong, like when me just doing this series of episodes, it's not for me. It's for my brothers and sisters who are out here.
Sure.
And don't, just out here with their feelings and their emotions around church. And one of my biggest pieces was, Pastor, not so much as to what they did to me in church. So I've moved past that. Some things was done to me, but I've moved beyond that. My biggest grievance that I'm still like moving on from is what I did get. And it took me to the age of 35 to see myself as equal to a heterosexual man in the church. Like I've served in ministry. I did all that in silence. I did everything in silence. I served, I lived, I didn't bring nobody, because I y'all know, y'all be knowing, y'all know Raymond never had no woman, the Raymond never had no, you know what I'm saying? Y'all be knowing, but I did it all in silence. And now, Pastor, psychologically, I look back on seeing what that did to me. I didn't get self-worth. I didn't get a proper self-esteem. So I always saw myself, even when I served right alongside, because people look at me, you don't just have to see that I'm gay. But I served right alongside of other like heterosexual leaders who have done all manners, but they got the grace. And I knew that I could not let alone like bring anybody, let alone even say that I had anybody, because I know I was not going to get that grace. And so and I'm just giving you this. I'm giving you this now. This is so vulnerable for me. One of my biggest like things now, because I've built myself up. I've built my self-worth up. I've built my self-esteem up. Because that means a lot to me. I don't want to give it to a space and it erode again, and I'm back in the same place. And so that has always been my, even with you wanting me to come to you, I'm going to go to his church, just to go and visit and sit in the space. But just being honest with you, brother, like that's been one of my biggest pieces. Like I've built myself back up to where I know I should be, and it's just a fear. Like, dang, I don't want that to erode.
But the key to progress is to eliminate vulnerability, and or a lack of vulnerability.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
If you're not willing to be vulnerable, you're not willing to go forward. I mean, everything is a risk. Me coming here today is a risk.
True.
Me sitting on this couch and people gonna try to pick apart what I've said. They're the Bible thumpers who gonna say he should have said the Bible said.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna be other people that's saying he said this. And, so it's always a risk. And I think that some risks are healthy and some are not smart.
True.
But when it comes to our space at our church, I want to show people who God is. And then I'm heavy on teaching a personal relationship with him, so that even what I say can be checked by what's in your spirit.
Yes.
Then if you in that kind of house, I've had people to come to me and say, I used to be A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And when I joined your church, I changed all of that. And I never preached on those things specific. Because Jesus is the focus.
Wow. And because representation is an issue, it's an issue all across the board.
Sure.
And how can we develop a stronger sense of belonging in local fellowships? And I asked Pastor Kenyon this too, Pastor. Is there a duality in acknowledgement and accountability when it comes down to somebody like me, because I'm a queer man, and I think that when people see people like me in spaces, they want our silence because they want to protect what they think about anybody like us. They want our silence, and they feel like if we want any kind of visibility or acknowledgement, that we don't want accountability.
Yeah, so here I'm conventional again. Here's my dilemma.
Okay.
Even with my liberal approach to humanity, I still have a dilemma.
Okay.
When it comes to same gender loving people.
Okay.
In church spaces.
Okay.
I need somebody to help to hold them accountable.
Okay.
That you can't be disrespectful to people that don't identify like you.
Okay.
Like I don't think it's appropriate for a homosexual person to join a church, and whether you think the person lying or not, they say to you, "Look, I'm heterosexual," and then you start pursuing them.
Okay.
I've seen that. That's happened.
Okay. Wow.
And you start DMing them, and you start inboxing them, and you start. That's not right.
That's not right.
And it makes people see if we trying to get to a place where we can peacefully coexist until Jesus deals with everybody. Then you gotta draw lines on the queer side as well.
Right. And so like that's to me like that's where accountability come in, because I did not know we was gonna go here with this conversation.
Yeah, but it's good.
But life management to queer men and women, I feel like should be in those spaces. Because gosh, Courtney, life management is real, and so if all I know is silence, all I know is doing everything under a wet, dirty rug. If that's all I know, yeah, I'm gonna do whatever I want to do because I'm horny and I see you, I like you, I want you, I'm gonna get you. But we still have to have, and so will it ever be a reality to where like I'm using your word now, unconventional, that we can have spaces in Black church because we serve in choirs, we preach, we serve on an usher board, we serve on a deacon board. Like, we're all over whether you like it or not. Is there a reality, just like the reality is at teaching young people or teaching people safe sex? Is there a reality in really teaching life management? Because me, I'm not necessarily I'm not for the apps. I've never been on an app or anything. I'm not for that stuff. But people go to, in those spaces, people checking their app. If they on the app, they doing it, but is there a such thing as life management? Because just because I am who I am, I feel like it's not what I do, it's how I do it.
Yeah, well, at our church, I can speak for.
Okay.
I have the same code of ethics that major corporate America has. I don't care if you're gay, straight, whatever. If you don't approach people that haven't given you an invitation, and
that's right,
that's out of bounds. Even if you're heterosexual, you don't approach a woman at our church that's not giving you any indication that she's interested in you. Now you've crossed the line. That's and when you're speaking about identity, I'm saying that the flip side of the coin is heterosexual people that may be down low or in the closet, whatever. You can't be going sleeping with gay folks and then acting like they're the bionic plague when they come around you. Right, like, because you crossed the line too. Like, just everybody come to church for Jesus.
Yeah.
That's and I don't believe that we should put labels. To answer your question, I don't believe we should have an integrated space where we label gay people. I just feel like that's marginalized.
I agree. And to create safe spaces, like, let's say, small group, or create safe spaces, some kind of discipleship, because I feel like right now, if you are a traditional heterosexual man, there's a fear that you live in. If I go and try to disciple this nigga, he gonna try to hit on me and I'm gonna kill this one.
But see, we gotta make sure that, because that's totally untrue.
Yeah.
We gotta make sure that we have to make sure that we present humanity
Yes.
in such a way that promiscuity is not a factor.
Yes.
Or we have to teach people or disciple them in such a way that promiscuity is not a factor. Every gay man does not want every man he sees.
I know.
Every heterosexual man
Yeah.
doesn't want every woman they see.
Right.
And
Right. That's real.
Yeah.
That's real. You hear him.
It's-
You hear the pastor say it.
yeah, even if you're attracted.
Even if you're attracted.
Even if you're
Yeah,
attracted.
that's real.
Every beautiful woman I see, I don't want.
Yes.
I'm certain that you see, because you work out.
Yes,
you got barbershop,
yes, absolutely.
You don't want every guy that comes in
Right.
to you, even if they look nice.
Mhm.
So that is something I feel like from those themes,
Yes.
we could teach people without making it about orientation.
Yes.
I think we could teach, hey, you need discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Every person that you see is attractive, don't want you.
I love that.
Everybody that speaks to you is not flirting with you. I tell you, I love you.
Yes.
You ain't never got no feeling like,
Right.
oh,
Nothing.
man,
I ain't
crossing
never,
the line.
right. Ever.
But that's because we're mature enough, educated enough, cultured enough, liberated enough to coexist in our brotherhood without
Yes.
it. But we need to teach people that. Like
Yes.
at our church, when you join, you already in this daughter category.
Wow.
This is how I feel. I've never slept with a person in my church in 9 years of a pastor.
Wow.
Never, not one.
Wow.
Because I put them in categories immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
You my daughter. Daughter,
Mhm.
I'm going to hug and kiss and love on you
Yes.
because I know y'all got father voids and
Yes.
you look at me as this typology of, but I don't have that issue. I've never even had one come on to me.
Wow.
Because I separate, I make the distinction. Right? Hey, you and your partner, your life partner,
Yeah.
y'all going out with me and my wife, just understand we ain't going to bed with y'all later.
Right.
Real talk. If
Real
we
talk.
going to eat, we love you.
Real talk.
We playing spades.
Real talk. Yeah.
But
real talk.
this ain't what we're doing. And then for me, it would be, no offense to you, no offense to anybody, but for me, it would be an opportunity to evangelize.
Absolutely.
Right?
No, absolutely.
But I evangelize through showing the love of God.
Yes.
I don't evangelize through thumping scriptures. You know scriptures.
know it.
You
I
know
give
the
you all
Bible,
the
right?
Bible.
Yeah. So my thing is,
Yeah.
man, show Jesus to people. And the more attracted they are to Jesus, if there is something in them that needs to change, he's going to do it.
Man, I'm gonna tell y'all something right now. I truly like with this conversation, Pastor Courtney Franklin. Like the level of respect I have for you, like just went like 10 times higher because, like, that's it for me. That's it, and that's for I know people that see the world the way I see it, and you as well. Like that's the type of community, that's the type of connection that we need.
Because brother, listen, I just can't find it in scripture. It's just me.
Mm-hmm.
I can't find it in scripture where Jesus, God, would want me to make a person live in a perpetual state of denying their existence.
Man.
I just can't see it. And then even if I have a theology that is against what you practice, right? Not you personally.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah.
Then God needs to change that.
God needs to change that.
I can't ask a person to wake up every day and say, I'm nasty to God.
Wow.
God don't want me around. God don't want me serving in the church.
Wow.
God don't want me hugging people because I'm transferring a spirit.
Yeah. Wow.
But you let the people at McDonald's give you your food.
They make you.
What spirit did they transfer?
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
You let the doctor touch you and examine your whole body naked.
Wow.
What spirit did they give you? And so I think the church has missed it with making people feel like they're the in the bucket,
Mm-hmm.
and give them no remedy for how not to become the other than lift your hands and speaking in tongues.
Wow.
You don't have a remedy.
Wow.
So I'm gay,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And you want me to not be gay by you saying some seance sounding words over me and slanging oil all over my head and saying, come out. That's all you got.
That's all you got. That's all you got.
And then when I go home, I'm still feeling the same.
And Pastor, I as human beings, me studying human beings now, it is so hard for us to say, I don't know.
I don't know.
It's so hard for us to say, I don't know. And so I'm going to go to all ends trying to prove my point, not God's point, but my point when God clearly left the instructions for us. I'm going to go to all ends trying to prove my point because I don't want you to know that I don't know.
I don't know. And this is why when people ask me about the queer subject, my response normally is, I'm still working through my theology on that.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my fair
That's
answer.
fair.
Because
that's fair.
I'm looking at people, I used to be an educator.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at kids at 1,
Mm-hmm.
2 years of preschool,
Mm-hmm.
switching.
Yes.
Like lipstick.
Yes.
Like purses. And I'm like, nobody taught this child.
Yes.
Were they born this way? Like, I'm still working.
Man.
I'm still working
Yes.
through it because everybody that's queer is, I don't feel like,
Mm-hmm.
chose that. Most people would not have chosen it because of the bias, and
Right.
the prejudice, and the attacks.
Who wants that?
Like,
Who wants that?
so I'm saying, God, what are you doing in this area?
Wow.
Right? Because of course I was in the church and I was in music and it was presented to me and
Mm-hmm.
perversion tried to grip me and all of that, but that's just not indigenously, that's just not who I am or who I was.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have a struggle with I'm hiding who I am and I got to tip over here. That's not my thing.
God.
But if it was my thing,
Mm-hmm.
I would be 100% who I am.
Yes.
And I would not be trying to fake for no church people.
Yes.
Because that's too much work, man. You have to be an actor every day.
Man.
That's too much work. Like, so I'm still working through. And I know church people are going to hang me on a cross, but I got a generation to win. And I have to win them with truth. I'm still working through. I'm not working through what the Bible says about it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I struggle with people who try to twist,
Mm-hmm.
make David and Jonathan gay and all
Yeah.
that. I struggle with that. That's just reaching.
Mm-hmm.
I know what the scripture says about it, but I want to know what God feels about it.
Yes.
Because the scripture says a lot of stuff
Yes.
that is culture
Mm-hmm.
and custom and not principle,
Yes. Yes.
right? But
Yes. I'm with you.
just because the Bible says it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that we know everything God feels concerning it.
Wow.
So because women wouldn't be able to preach or
Right.
lead or sing in the choir
Right.
or pray in church, and
Right.
because the Bible says, "Shut up."
Right.
But that's what it says.
That's
but
what it
what does it mean?
Ooh, man.
And
My God.
so, and then we can't cherry pick.
Yes.
You know, if women got to be keep silent in the church, why they in the choir?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
why they reading the announcements?
Yes.
Like, that's not silent. Don't pick and choose what they got to be silent about.
Yeah.
But they need to be subservient, and that's most of the preacher's point. You want them to be subservient because they can't be equal to you in your mind.
Man.
That's your insecurity. Let me tell you something. As strong as my personality is, I have never, in almost 10 years of being with my wife, said to her, "I'm the man."
Wow.
Never.
Wow.
Never.
Really?
Never. I've never said it. Why? I just be him.
Wow. Yeah.
I've never said to my kids, "I'm your dad."
Mm-hmm.
Never. My oldest daughter's 21. She still honors me as her chief protection.
Yes.
I'm her dad. So I think, and listen, before church people start challenging me, I don't have a quote unquote influx of queer people at our church.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't. I love everybody.
Yeah.
One of my former church administrator was a homosexual man that never crossed the line with me, never got out of order. I love him, I honor him, went to lunch with him, didn't care who saw me with him. He helped our church. He served that capacity. You know what he came to me and said? He said, Pastor, I'm getting ready to get deeper into LGBTQ advocacy. I'm getting ready to get deeper into AIDS prevention within my community. He said, and I know the heat that will bring our church. So I want to step down from this role. Wow. Because I don't want that heat on you, because I know who you are and I don't want people to mischaracterize you.
Wow. I'm going to tell you something, man. Man, look, you just listen, y'all, the level of transparency, the level of raw, courageous honesty, man, I commend you right here, right now, because I know this, whatever you think about this one way or another, this promotes healing. This promotes connection. This promotes unity within the space. And this is something that has always been an elephant in the room. And I'm so glad that, and I know, listen, I'm an intelligent, smart man. This is an intelligent, smart man. Both of us knew that, okay, people they waiting on us to who gonna say what, but I'm so glad that this came up the way it did, because it was honest and it's real, man. And I honor your experience, man. I honor every word you just said.
Likewise. Thank you for curating a space like this. I believe that dialogue is healthy. Again, I don't believe that heterosexual or homosexual people need to come in church waving a flag. I think everybody needs to come for Jesus.
Yes.
And to deepen their love for him, their knowledge of him, and grow in him. I'm really not interested in who goes to bed with people, because I don't want nobody coming to my bed. Me and my wife's bed is off limits. And I don't really want to go to yours. I just feel like we need to give Jesus to people and let him do the separating, let him do the dividing, let him do the convicting, let him do the changing, let him do whatever it is, and then make church a place just like Jesus did. That's why he sat with prostitutes.
Yes.
That's why he sat with people who owed taxes. That's why he sat with people who, that's why he expunged a man on the cross that was a thief. Because he always was for the marginalized and the underdog and the people that other religious folks said don't have none of it. That's why when he engaged a woman at a well that was a Samaritan, he sent the disciples away because they would understand in exchange.
Yes.
Jews and Samaritans didn't go mingle.
They didn't go mingle.
So you have to give people now what Jesus gave them when he was in the cosmos, when he was on the earth. How did he deal with folks?
Man.
We want everybody to look like us and act like us, but there's no, I get excited I know we gotta go, but I get excited as a pastor when somebody that ain't been to church say, I want your Jesus.
Wow.
Man. Recycling church people does nothing for me as a leader.
Nothing.
We need to get some people who don't know church at all and say, man, teach, I gotta do. He's a barber too.
Oh, really?
He owns a barber shop.
Okay.
One of my new sons. About 27, 28 years old. Thuggish, ruggish bone. Lord Jesus. I'm still working with him every day. But he bring his partners. He be like, Pastor, man, tell dude, man, tell him, man. And that's, I love. Pull up in they Dodge Chargers with them rims on them. Car smelling like weed a little bit. I love that. That's what I want to change. That's what I want to empower. Wow. But even them, I don't browbeat them. I just give them Jesus. And I watch their change over time. So I encourage everybody that's listening to us, man, to have healthy dialogue. Have healthy conversation. Every person is not out to harm you. Every person in church is not out to harm you. I've had people to leave our church and lie. Like I harmed them, and they lied. Right? But even in their lying, if they would have proctored a conversation with me, then I would have at least tried to do my part to salvage what was hurt about them, right? But in turn, they end up hurting me by spewing the vitriol that wasn't accurate to me. Now, a person has a right to their experience. But then be a grown-up, articulate your experience, and then we can help you move past your experience, because it's never been in my heart to harm a person that's been in our church or harm anybody anyway. That's just not
I believe that, man.
who I am. I would rather help and laugh and joke and play ball and play spades.
Man, I'm gonna tell you something. You have said some things on this podcast today that has really I got to sit with. Man, shit, bro, I gotta sit with this.
That's good.
You said some things for me to really have to sit with. Thank you so much. You just don't even know how much I'm thanking you right now for the level of conversation that you have said here on this podcast and had. That I don't know many men of God or women of God for that matter would even be willing to sit here and say some of the things you've said. And thank you, bro.
Absolutely.
How can the viewers find you? How can they find you?
Sure. Social media, I'm the Courtney Franklin on my artist page, Courtney C. Franklin on my personal page, and then Instagram, the Courtney Franklin. And also you can show up at our church, 2956 East Street, Memphis, Tennessee, 38128.
Yes.
The Power Spot Church, we start at 11:30 on Sunday. I'm on convention right now. We're not even having Bible study. I use Bible study as a per topic tool.
Okay.
So I think it's monotonous to just come to church on Wednesday.
Okay.
But if God gives me a subject that he wants me to cover for a few weeks, we have Bible study. Sometimes it lasts 6 weeks. Sometimes it lasts 3, and then we go back on. I believe people need the opportunity to live what you've taught.
Yeah.
And not overload them with teaching.
Yeah.
And then they don't get to work it out.
Yeah.
So, man, put you some jeans on and a t-shirt, come to our church. It's going to be powerful. Sometimes we sing, sometimes we don't. Sometimes I come in and I teach the whole time.
Yeah.
I mean, I can sing, but
Well,
yeah, it's just unconventional. And I don't ever want people to be able to predict our service, how it's going to flow. You just never know at our church.
Wow. Man, this has been another episode. Y'all, and I know. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to hear, like, for real, because I think it has been life-changing, what you spoke today. This conversations we had. Thank you. As my friend, as my brother,
Sure.
Thank you, man. As a pastor, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being one of the ones, man. This has been Ray Bridging Humans, the place where the people get to hear you and the world get to see it. I love your family.